Welcome, good afternoon, and thank you for joining what I know will be an interesting discussion on an important topic, content owner and broadcast addressable. I'm Mike Dean. I'm a managing director at Deloitte Consulting in the telecom, media, and entertainment practice, and I'm joined today by Kathleen, Justin, and Scott. Thank you all for being here and for offering your expertise and your perspectives. So Addressable TV originated with MVPDs who have technology in the home and a direct relationship to the household in terms of subscriber relationships, billing information, et cetera. But there are limitations, including the regional footprints for some, and to a lesser share of TV inventory. So on the other hand, national TV programmers and broadcasters specifically reach essentially everyone and have a majority of the TV ad inventory. But programmers have lacked that direct connection to the household in terms of the technology, the plumbing, to a lesser extent now with digital MVPD services, subscription and direct billing access. So enabling programmer inventory with MVPDs and smart TV capabilities is a huge opportunity that's still in its early days. So over the next 45 minutes, we'll touch on a broad range of questions anchored in the theme of addressability, specifically as offered and is operated by national TV content owners. And more specifically, each of you has both broadcast and cable assets, so with a little tilt towards broadcast. So with that, I'd say, let's get to it. If I could ask each of you to begin by introducing yourself, and then just to help set the table for the rest of the discussion, maybe give us a brief summary of your advanced advertising offerings, capabilities, and how you bring it to market. Scott, I know you well, you're never shy. So if you don't mind, I'd like to throw to you to start us off.
Thanks, Mike. Happy to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Scott Morin, Director, Vantage Ad Sales. So Vantage is the core advanced ad solution for the Viacom CBS portfolio. So we're an audience-first product, right? We don't inventory as much as we represent a buying type, and that is building, guaranteeing, and optimizing campaigns based off of first and third-party audiences. And we do that, across the portfolio. So we don't think, TV in a national linear capacity alone. We're a convergent product. So we mix both, linear, which includes linear addressable formats and nonlinear formats that take advantage of streaming acceleration and, free and paid and SVOD, AVOD, and all the different acronym formats within kind of a singular Vantage campaign.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Kathleen, how about going next?
Sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Kathleen Flood. I'm the VP of Ad Sales Operations for Advanced Television Ad Sales at Univision, where we represent upwards of 60 million Hispanics in the US. So our audience is very large, and we have a few offerings in terms of addressable via Project OR. We also are members of OpenAP, and so we do it all. We don't have the same product as Vantage, but we're doing it all.
Great to hear. Thank you so much. And Justin, next.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate everybody tuning in. My name is Justin Dobies. I'm the Senior Director of Advanced TV Data, Audience, and Programmatic Sales at Fox Corporation. Our team, monikered Fox Next, represents the intersection of our industry-leading content, but then data and audience enablement. So much as Scott kind of went through, there's a lot underneath our control, but we take that holistic approach. We have a full suite of advanced tools for data application across both linear and digital. It ranges from data-driven linear, outcome-based optimizations and guarantees to digital, addressable, interactive, and programmatic activation. And not to forget, most recently in our portfolio is our One Fox offering, which enables our clients to activate via one single sourced IO across the entire portfolio and really simplify that buying process for our clients and truly understand that we can optimize across the entire portfolio, cross-platform, across linear and digital. But really what we try to do is leverage the power of our portfolio, its content, and our audiences. People tune into Fox for a reason, but our goal is to, enable our clients to get the most out of their investments with us at any given point in time.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you so much, Justin. So obviously, key theme there is bringing together assets across broadcast, across cable, across digital. One Fox, which I am not familiar with, did I say that correctly? Obviously, like a single IO delivering across all of those assets. So I think that's a thing that is, sort of developing across the programmer ecosystem is go-to-market strategies, which bring all these things together. Again, as I said in the preamble, everybody, each of you is part of a broadcaster, has that within your portfolio. And so my question is, in a world where consumers access content in so many different ways, do you believe marketers believe that broadcast has any special importance or unique role? Obviously, it can be delivered through traditional cable, through set-top boxes, but it's also over the air. So I just love to get your thoughts as broadcasters. Justin, can I throw to you to start off on that one?
Absolutely. I think it does. Broadcast is stood the test of time, right? And albeit there's shifts in viewership, and those will undoubtedly continue. But I think that the ecosystem has evolved to adapt to that, right? And to CTV and OTT and all the different access points, Mike, like you mentioned. But one thing is that broadcast continues to have reach, has scale, and it's that ultimate driver. So as viewership may shift, that power is still there. And for us at Fox, it's still a major part of what we do, right? It drives sponsorship. But then you got to also think about what that means for innovation. We have, the best and the biggest reach vehicle of all time, and what started this all in the linear side of the business. But now we're able to innovate, and really what this panel is about is innovation and addressability, right? So we can take that medium and now transform it and evolve that into what our clients and marketers need, and really truly customize the broadcast space. And as it continues to evolve, that's what we get excited about. And I think everybody can agree on this call that it's truly amazing where the space has come to today, and where we're going to go. And that's what we look to do at Fox. Truly is listen to the marketplace and understand where we think they're going, and try to plan ahead for that. But broadcast, right, whether it's a GRP play or a niche audience play, we have the tools, we've developed those. We'll continue to do that, and I think having Fox in our back pocket as a major part of our portfolio, truly gives us a leg up and an advantage when we go into those negotiations, because the power that it does bring historically, and what it means for the future.
Thanks, Justin. Look, I love what you said about broadcast standing the test of time, because not only was it the first medium for television, but as TV has evolved over time, we're actually seeing broadcast grow. Nobody wants to talk about cord cutting and other types of trends, but as that occurs, people can still put up an antenna and get some of the best content across the ecosystem. So certainly broadcast has been around, will be around, and has continued to show that resiliency. So I love that as a sort of a tagline. Scott, how about you with Viacom CBS and the CBS broadcast asset?
Yeah, I mean, that's all spot on. A huge source of viewership, matters a lot. It kind of can exist outside of the cord. You can access broadcast via antenna and other places. So it's behaving in different ways from portions of the cable portfolio. And we see it as a complementary piece to our campaigns, right? I mean, we have the benefit of having a bunch of different cable properties that all have pretty diverse viewership, and we see CBS complement that as well. So depending on the audience and depending on the campaign, it's definitely a positive, a net benefit for us to have for marketers. Gives us more impressions to deliver, and helps just the company monetize audience on the broadcast side in ways that they haven't done necessarily at scale previously. So definitely a positive for us and our product.
Yeah, thank you. And I mean, obviously, broadcast within a kind of multi-channel programmer is often the place where tent poles, the biggest events, sports programming, things of that nature are delivered to attract that largest audience. Is that true as well, Kathleen, of
Yes.
Univision and the Spanish language audience?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for broadcast, we have a lot of over-the-air viewing, but we also have all of our tentpoles air on Univision. We also have simulcasts, live sports. You can't, like, to Justin and Scott's point, like it has stood the test of time. Like, you can't beat broadcast. Everybody can consume it. So Hispanics traditionally do consume content a little bit differently and more so over the air. However, that's where that's where broadcast really shines, I guess, for us.
Yeah. I mean, also part of the power of broadcast is the simultaneous nature of it, right? That particularly, well, it's true of live television, but once you get the largest audience watching broadcast, you have the simultaneity, the sort of shared impact of the content and the advertising, which I find interesting.
Yeah.
So next, Kathleen, coming back to you again to talk about the value of using data and advanced advertising techniques within Spanish language content and ads, which some people may perceive, I probably perceive wrongly, is an audience that's already segmented. So can you just talk about what's the value in terms of taking an audience which already has a little bit of a definition and then layering on data and advanced advertising techniques on top?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, like I said earlier, we have 60 million Hispanics in the United States. So there's tons of viewers. But also, I think it comes down to education. Like, I think we need to, educate ourselves, our sales team, as well as the agencies in terms of, you can still target a working mom or a, redheaded left-handed redhead, regardless of whether they're Hispanic or not. So we definitely have the same data capabilities, and we just have to be treated not solely as Hispanic. You can still have, you can still layer it on.
Right. So 60 million Hispanics are still 60 million consumers.
Exactly.
Who, need to buy cars and financial services and, all of the other things that advanced advertising is great for. That makes a ton of sense. Scott, next over to you to talk a little bit about what CBS did with their first in market trial. So in 2020, CBS went to market with a pioneering national addressable advertising trial for U.S. broadcast. They did that in partnership with Dish and with Vizio on Project Or. Can you just talk a little bit about the significance of that trial and maybe what new progress has been made since?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely significant in a couple of ways. Number one, it was actual delivery using technology, right? So it wasn't necessarily like a pilot. We actually had addressable impressions served through Dish's set-top box technology, something that exists on the cable side, and we have been doing for a couple of years, but brand new to the broadcast side. So, enabling more scale within a new network and a broadcast network, given its own size, just will give the product and similar products more ability to bring these audience first strategies, optimization to broadcast networks, which is traditionally a place, as kind of was mentioned before, is more ad hoc, directly sold with live programming and more content and time-based strategies. So yeah, more addressability on the broadcast side is great. Now, if you're going to enable new formats, you have to show ways to measure them. So that's definitely an area that just the industry and we have been trying to lean in on is, if we're going to run these multi-platform types of campaigns, how do we have measurement that can measure all those different formats holistically? So that's definitely an initiative. And, Dish is one of our distribution partners, right? So there's other partners to try and explore expanding the capability so that it has a little bit more of a kind of like a capacity, if you will, opportunity on the broadcast network. So different areas we're still investing in, but we'd love to see how much addressable has flourished, I guess. It's been around, I think, for a while, but buying it on kind of a national scale through programmer partners, I think, is a little bit new to the industry still. So as much as we can push that forward, I think it's going to be a benefit for everyone.
Got it. Thank you for that. And, one of my observations too is that, broadcast is sort of the last untapped inventory tranche for addressable. Obviously, as I said at the beginning, MVPDs have been doing it for a long time. They've been doing it in 2 minutes of cable. So then taking that capability to national cable programming inventory, massive expansion of the inventory, but not necessarily expansion of the audience, because some of that audience was already addressable through the MVPDs. So, I think bringing it to broadcast also brings it to not only entirely new content, because it's never been in broadcast, but entirely new audiences too, sort of expanding the reach, which is, part of what I think is exciting about it. But it's certainly still hand-to-hand combat, because it is, literally affiliate market by affiliate market, because of the way the broadcast signal gets distributed. Justin, I hate to put you on the spot in particular because I didn't prompt you for this, but can you maybe comment on where Fox is in terms of enabling, testing, launching, or in market with broadcast addressability specifically?
Yeah, no problem there. And much like CBS and Viacom and Scott's team, we had success in 2020 as well, in our inaugural one test leading up to 4Q20 with one of our strategic partners, and that was across cable and broadcast, right? So, I think the big thing to note there was that the enablement of live linear programming and NFL spots, right? So some of the most watched programming in the linear space, and we've seen that in recent weeks with some of the matchups. But Mike, like you said, I think it's that untapped inventory that those clients have been wanting for, right? I think the inception is probably somewhere around 2012, so it's been up and running on the MVPD side. But now, that scale of broadcast inventory, live programming, you think of shows on Fox like The Masked Singer, NFL football, right? So those are brands that are second to none, and now we have the ability to customize client schedules, deliver specific creatives to those households with that reach, right? Obviously, we continue to build out our partnerships on the distribution side, and we'll continue to do that, right? So we can grow that scale, but our clients understand the power of the Fox portfolio, the content that we have. Now we're able to utilize that, leverage it, and really personalize and customize the schedule for our clients. So it's something that we're open for business on that. We've been in market with it. We've proved it out. It does work. The pipes are connected, and it's something that we're super excited about, is that continues to grow and evolve for us as well.
Got it. Makes sense. Thank you. Kathleen, can I come back to you on this question then too next? And maybe let me ask first. I'm sorry I don't know this, but does Univision have an own stations group that goes along with the national broadcast side?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Well, and my question then is just so where are you guys at in terms of the journey of enabling broadcast addressability? Because I mentioned there's that interesting challenge of affiliate markets and having to enable those signals, discreetly.
Yes, it's definitely a challenge, and I've been working on it for upwards of 2 years, probably, with servers and out of band signaling and things that I don't even know about. But we're ready to go in first quarter. We'll be live on Vizio for addressable, as well as through Dish on our O&Os in first quarter. We're working with a partner, Ad Creatio, which I believe all of you guys have worked with before as well. So yeah, we're ready to go. We've been doing a ton of testing during, with our promo avails, as well as the national linear avails. And we are, we're ready to go in first quarter.
That's it. That's exciting news. I did not know that. I learned something today too. That is something to look forward to. That's definitely very exciting. And congratulations, because it's definitely been a long road. So Justin, if I can come back to you to kind of lead us off on the next question, which is, what do you think the role is for industry initiatives? We just talked about a couple of the companies and initiatives, but specifically things like Project or Go Addressable, which is more focused on the distributor side, or even OpenAP, which all three of your companies are members of, and is increasingly playing a role beyond just DDL into targeted delivery and measurement, et cetera. So what do you think of any one of those or all of those?
We've been a proponent and a supporter and a founding member of, one if not all, and it's we are fully behind, I think what is needed to advance the space in the marketplace, right? So, as it continues to fragment, our ecosystem, right, I think the standardization is key, right? Unification of the efforts are crucial to help, not only us as networks, but, the MVPDs, and the clients, right, to understand how they can activate, how they can access, and really simplify it. But, I think that there's, a few things that need to happen, right? We need standards, we need scale and participation by the marketplace to push that forward. And I think, right, Kathleen, I think you said is that the education part, right, which is, I think, been happening for, a good part of a decade now. So I think people are beginning to become more comfortable with it. But as initiatives like these continue to grow and morph and evolve, I think it only helps us. It helps the marketplace and it helps clients, right, realize their potential and be able to, activate in a way that really makes sense. Ups that ROI and really, turns it to the next page. So I think there's a strong appetite, for audience-based buying, and it's going to continue to grow dramatically. And all of these are things that are going to help that. And so we're behind them, and we'll, continue to support initiatives like these.
Yeah, I mean, look, I couldn't agree more. And I certainly think that each of these plays a role, and also, reducing friction on the transaction process is important to scaling addressable, to making it easier for buyers, right? They want to be able to transact the way they do in digital, or even the way they do in linear around demos, just something that's easy to buy and sell and measure and post against. Scott, Viacom was one of the founders, along with Fox, of OpenAP. How's their sort of, role evolving around that targeted one-to-one ecosystem?
Yeah, I mean, OpenAP is a big partner of ours for a lot of our activations right now. The standardization of audiences, the way they've handled contracts, and that there's, for the linear side, there's a hidden step that people don't necessarily think about. It doesn't exist on the digital side to match an audience with viewership of some kind, so that you can make these, predictions that would ultimately lead to this optimized schedule. Again, in the linear format where everything is reservation based. So, they've brought a lot of value to what we've done and kind of facilitating, multi-partner activations, which also we're seeing, right? Adoption and advocacy, a lot of the press that goes around these things is necessary just to get water through the pipes, as they say, right? And have people actually using it. So we're seeing a lot more of that now. OpenAP has definitely brought a ton of value. I would say over the last year and a half, specifically, it's really shot up for us. So I see it all being positive, and the other initiatives they all kind of do a little bit of a different thing, as you kind of touched on. But they give people more choice, and there's some buyers that are still early in their audience and or strategy journey, and there's some that are down the road, and the ones that are further along, I think, have the bandwidth to test these things, and they're important to the ecosystem just to kind of try and validate some of the new ways of buying.
Right. I mean, it is occurring to me now as I look at the three initiatives, that each of them does play sort of a slightly different and distinct role, right? With Project Tour bringing standards to, watermark based addressable, Addressable bringing together the sort of MVPD ecosystem, distributor ecosystem around standards for addressability, and OpenAP sort of more traditionally having played a role on defining and sharing an audience, posting back, and now moving into measurement. So, I mean, look, I'll just say, you personally, I do think they are, each valuable and distinct in their own and playing an important role. Kathleen, you mentioned that you guys will be launching in January on Project Tour. Can you share sort of any of your observations through going through that trial and test phase? It sounds like you guys are working in the promo inventory. Is that correct?
Yes, right now we're working in the promo inventory for Vizio as well as through Dish. But with OpenAP, we've definitely seen, at least with the Hispanic market, we've noticed that we've seen more demand than we would have normally seen, because it's the OpenAP, obviously, you guys all know, is about, bringing publishers together to have one, post, one stewardship and all of that. So we've been able to see additional demand through OpenAP. With Project Or, which we recently joined, yeah, we're looking to start in first quarter. We've been testing for over a year, and yeah, all good things so far.
So can I just follow up on the additional demand you're seeing? Like, do you have any observations, like, what's the reason why you would see sort of new incremental demand through OpenAP is it for Hispanic audience targeted campaigns?
Yes. So basically, we typically, you normally see the Hispanic campaigns come in separately from the English language or the general market. But with OpenAP, they've been sort of coming together, which is like a first. It's never happened in the industry, at least, that we've seen. Yeah. So we've been able to see like Walgreens, Walmart, Honda, like there's been a bunch of campaigns, T-Mobile, there's been a bunch of advertisers that have come through that normally wouldn't have, necessarily bought us. So yeah, OpenAP has been a great thing for us.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one of the promises and benefits of creating that marketplace is access to demand that any individual programmer or publisher may not have ever seen. So it's great to hear that's delivering on that promise and seeing it in reality. Another good news story for Univision today. So Scott, maybe next, turning to you. So, in reference to one of the panels earlier today was about connected TVs, increasingly important role along with smart TVs and other connected devices, and how these are all sort of playing a role in the addressable advertising market. So now that both networks and distributors can deliver addressable ads via multiple means, again, whether that is set-top boxes, smart TVs, connected devices, can you just comment on, what coordination is needed to avoid issues such as ad duplication, collision, competitive conflicts, and really just to enhance the overall user experience? And, for example, to make sure that we don't exceed frequency by showing a household an addressable ad in one channel and then an addressable ad in another channel. Obviously a complicated problem to solve.
Yeah, definitely complicated. So, we partner with the MVPDs directly to use for the addressable specific inventory to use their technology and their set-top boxes to serve these ads. So there's certainly delivery coordination, right? They become a part of the product that we ultimately deliver, but they're a part of the delivery process. So SLAs and just like normal backend stuff obviously has to be tight on how do we operate, how does the audience within our full flow make it to those MVPDs so that they can lift their piece. There's also rules of engagement, right? A number of the different MVPDs or different groups all represent addressable inventory in some type. Oftentimes it's different types of inventory, but this with the same logo, it's tough for a buyer to deduplicate. Am I buying the same thing? Is it the same opportunity with you than somebody else? So there's certainly a lot of go-to-market that we have to explain, like what exact inventory are we making addressable? How is it being sold? Why is it unique? So yeah, there's definitely a ton of coordination that I think has gone into setting up these contracts and making it work the way it has been successfully. But then there's also the kind of like the conceptual, and this sits more within like the Vantage process and thinking, but if you buy individual publishers or inventory types individually, it leaves more room for some of this duplication or kind of overlap of audience potentially, right? But if you build holistically, trying to think of, well, what is the reach within the addressable environment and how does that play with maybe cable or network inventory that's being reserved nationally? We have ways of estimating those things. And when you build them together, you start to flatten out some of those reach and frequency curves in the ways that people want them, if the idea is to maximize the potential of my budget. And then, with the Vantage side, we also have, this cross-platform optimizer, which is also a product feature that tries to suppress some of the heavier TV watchers within a segment, push that to the MVPDs, and try and extend reach through other means than traditionally you couldn't do, which is like there's no frequency capping button necessarily to try and apply. So a lot of communication definitely necessary, and kind of trying to think of how it fits in the larger puzzle, I think, is another way to address some of those challenges.
Right. So lots of operational sort of sausage making details in terms of SLAs with the MVPDs. How do you make sure you get them an audience and a schedule, and try to unduplicate that and make that incremental as much as possible to the rest of the buy. Also, you guys have built technology that identifies the highest frequency TV viewers and look to suppress those across the MVPD footprint. That's definitely an interesting technique as well. Justin, I know you talked earlier too about sort of the digital and connected TV inventory within the Fox footprint. Is there anything for you to add on this topic?
I think Scott made a ton of great points there. Operationally, right? Communication up front, planning, understanding, right? Segmentation, what we're going to layer on the front end to understand then the outcome on the back end, right? So a lot of the same. I think we all go through the same pain points across all of the publishers and trying to figure that out, right? And I think it's one thing that'll continue to evolve, but as we see some of these initiatives like OpenAP, XPM, right? Those are the types of things that we need, and the ecosystem needs, right? And those are why I think we become a big supporter to push those things forward. Because what we can do is control the controllables, understand what we can do, be transparent, and if we're on the same page with our clients, I think that then gives us the end product that we're looking for, right? And we'll address those things as they come up. But I think we've done a great job to date. I think we'll continue to work through it, as we can to get to that end goal.
You mentioned XPM, and I'm not going to sort of like address it specifically, but it's sort of it's interesting in that it raises the stakes a little bit, because there is the sort of convenient answer of, well, if we can't measure reach and frequency effectively or unduplication effectively, then we don't really have to worry about that answer. And so the double-edged sword of a thing like XPM, in terms of raising the stakes for programmers, in terms of really being able to demonstrate incrementality of reach, right? If that XPM measurement and data set can truly say, here's who you reached on Fox, here's who you reached on Viacom CBS, here's who you reached on Univision, and are those the same or different people? So certainly, it was, I think, really great news for the entire ecosystem, and really increases the ability of programmers to prove that value, but also makes it necessary to prove that value as well. So next, Justin, I guess back to you to maybe talk about a little what role does addressable play in the upfront? So traditionally, at least in my experience, advanced advertising has not always been part of the upfront negotiation. That's obviously changing over time. And then, maybe the second related question is, how do you think about managing for the uncertainty of audience data when you're negotiating upfront? So if you're negotiating in May and June for, campaigns that won't even launch until October, and we all know audience data fluctuates over time. So just how do you think about that stability of audience in those negotiations?
Listen, I think addressability is an innovation or top of mind for us when going into, and it's definitely been more prevalent over the past few upfronts, right? Especially as marketers are coming to the table with their own first party data, or agencies are snatching up data companies and starting to put out custom segments for their clients. So it becomes more of the conversation. It has become more of the conversation. But for us, it plays as much of a role as our partners would like it to. I don't think we to say, well, we don't force feed the data and audience play, but it happens more naturally, right? That occurrence. And so, for some of our bigger partners, and going back to last upfront, and our launch of live linear addressable and tapping into those live events like NFL and some of those non-scripted shows in prime time, really is appetizing to clients, right? And they really understand that here's the power of our content, and we really get to understand what they're looking for. So I think a key thing when it comes to data is lead time. And I think I said this just before. The more that we can plan, the more that we know. So the earlier those conversations start with any of our clients, that really truly helps. And knowing that, that data is going to need to be refreshed, right? So I think that's just being, upfront and honest and transparent with the agencies, the clients, to really know that, hey, listen, we'll plan today. We can understand that, there is audience activation that's coming, into our upfront, but how are we able to then, optimize throughout the year? So, we have an upfront commitment, and when and where, what initiatives are our clients trying to, push throughout the year, understand their tentpole events, key launches, anything that might be, an indicator, and to plan around that. So lead time's key. So I think, the message for the audience here is the more that we know, the better we can help, manage those expectations, understand what those timelines look like, and really truly deliver on, what we talk about, in the upfront planning cycle, and then moving into the year.
Got it. I'm gonna follow up, and feel free to punt if this is too specific of a question. But are you doing anything like setting audience rate cards based on concentration or audience size, so that you can sort of de-risk the conversation as it goes throughout the year?
I think an answer, right? Listen, I think it all fits into our conversations, right? So, I don't think it's specific to any one publisher, right? I think we all have those conversations of what works best, and I think for us it's client based. We have to take into consider historicals, right? And I think everybody operates in the same boat there of what does this mean for our current state of business, our partnerships, the content that we're coming to market with, acquisitions in terms of new platforms and Tubi and TMZ, for Fox and the portfolio. So as we expand and we access new audiences that are complementary to, our portfolio, and really strengthen it, those things, I think they naturally occur, right? We have a basis for how we operate and how we move forward. And I think we get to a place that's mutually agreeable, and we understand, how that might work in the future state, and what it means for them now.
Got it. I'd like to invite Scott and Kathleen to share their upfront pricing strategies, if this feels like the moment to do that.
Well, for sure, we definitely have audience-based rate cards, for sure. We're trying to come up with generic, like auto intenders, or like I said earlier, working moms and all of that. We try to come up with this as generic as possible in order to, to sell it to our agencies and our clients. But yeah, I think it's difficult with it is a little bit difficult with the Hispanic marketplace, because we definitely come up to a wall of like, oh no, we're already targeted. But so we're doing our best to segment that in addition to the Hispanic market. But we're definitely doing separate rate cards and everything for the upfront, for sure.
In fairness, I did not think you were going to take me up on the offer to elaborate on your upfront pricing strategy, but thank you for that behind the scenes look.
I think everyone knows that though.
So Scott, I wanted to come back to you, maybe to talk a little bit about IQ, the role of digital video, et cetera. So Viacom CBS is currently allowing the marketplace to buy across the sort of whole portfolio of premium digital inventory through the trade name IQ. Can you just talk about how that digital inventory fits within the overall advanced advertising offering?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, I keep on saying the word complementary just because, when we look at the results from our campaigns and the media metrics, specifically around reach, around audience concentration, which is our term for in-target delivery, and delivery on an audience, right? The reach benefits from incrementally adding all these different platforms, IQ, especially just because it's so predominant with, actual like cord cutter, people who are just going after free streaming services potentially, right? With Pluto TV and things all along the spectrum. They have real benefits to our campaigns. I would say the biggest challenge is getting planning teams to think in submission phases. Well, if I have a digital budget, or if I have a CTV budget, or if I have an addressable budget, and how does that play with my national video budget? I would say the biggest limitation is getting people to realize that more and more partners can combine them in a single guarantee. But yeah, there's definite value for the IQ house for us, which, as you said, just represents a number of different digital video endpoints that in aggregate are make for a pretty scalable one-stop shop, overall. So it's definitely been positive. And it's also, it's a more nimble environment, right? So I agree with Justin and everyone that said, lead time and visibility into what you're trying to do, especially in the linear side, is key. We can play around with what we can do when the formats are more digital in nature. So can accommodate maybe potentially smaller threshold budgets or more last minute timing for scatter and inventory requests like that. So definitely been a net positive, but also a lot of learnings. Like we've been integrating the CBS assets for 2 broadcast deal years now. So it's there's been a lot that's been achieved, and more to come, but it's definitely been a net positive for us, I'd say.
Got it. Thank you. So we're in the home stretch of the panel here. So I want to come back to just really clients, how engaged they are, what you've learned in working with them. Your 3 companies represent leaders in the advanced advertising space, and I'm sure each of you has worked with a client that was eager to try advanced TV, but didn't really appreciate the differences, maybe as compared to traditional buying of linear or of digital. So with that in mind, can you share some lessons learned or advice you even have for marketers who are interested in but are new to advanced advertising? Justin, maybe I'll start with you if you don't mind.
Yeah. I think, I would have to say that I don't know if we've encountered any clients who haven't appreciated it, right? And the differences between, and I think you kind of led to the answer here, is that, if they're new to the space, it's right. There's a learning curve, and as much education as one can get prior to jumping into the advanced space. And it's truly, once you're in, then you really understand, and then you get to see the inner workings and what's possible, right? So from just buying GRPs and broadcast and getting that reach and scale to being able to translate, digital audiences and targeting to the linear space. I think there's the synergy between the two, and I think this leads back to the previous answer of lead time, transparency, and truly having the conversations. To one, when a client does come to us and has activated with us, it's that they know what they're getting into. We work with them, step by step. I don't want to say we hold their hands, but it's a process. It's complicated. It's not, although it operates within the realm of where they've been previously and have maybe only activated in linear, it's completely foreign, right, at times. And, as we work through that and it becomes more commonplace, I think that fades away. But, we've seen success, right? And whether, it's not what anyone thought it would be to start, that there is learnings from all campaigns, right? And then that's the beauty of it, to optimize and come back to it and really understand that, hey, we can tweak these things. We can tweak, in almost real time, right? Give it enough lead time. We can do those things that maybe traditionally in appointment viewing and slotted schedules we couldn't do. But now with dynamic ad insertion in the linear space, we're able to do those things, apply our learnings and really move forward, but really make sure that the the client's getting what we promised up front and truly working through it with them, so they do feel good on the back end when that's complete. And it's all about return business, right? So we want to make sure that they're constantly learning, and we can continue to leverage not only the linear side, but then it turns into the cross-platform and moving it to a space maybe where that reach extension happens. So I think it's been all positives for us, and it's varying degrees of it, but we're all moving in the right direction.
I'm seeing the candle at the back of the auditorium, which means wrap up, but I do want to save time for our last question, which is, what are you binge watching? What do you recommend somebody watch, and what drink pairs well with that show? So I'm going to start off and say it's the new Twilight Zone hosted by Jordan Peele, something smoky like a Negroni. Scott?
All about Yellowstone. It's an excellent show, and throwing a nice like Coors in that brown bottle is probably the way to go. Good beer.
Great. Kathleen?
I was just about to say Yellowstone as well, and definitely a cold beer for sure. A Coors
take
for
us home.
sure.
Oh, well, since Kathleen and Scott are sitting in the other rooms and both took my answers with Coors Light, I'll have to go with, I actually just started Dope Sick and a glass of water.
Okay.
There you go.
We will end on that note. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, Nextv Ad USA, for hosting the conversation. After a short networking break, the show will be back with a star-studded panel to address national addressable TV strategies for marketers. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Be well.
Everybody.